Hey, aloha everyone, aloha. How y'all doing? And mahalo for tuning in. Today we got a nice Warden tank for you. Really fun to play. Pretty sure this is like not ideal if you want to be doing dungeons and trials the most efficient way, but holy crap, this is really fun, man. You basically have all three elements, fire, light, lightning, and ice, damage, constant damage all the time, and it's ridiculous. And, you can pretty good support DPS in the background, which is, normally I know tanks just have to do that bull crap, like taunt and buff and debuff, and that's no fun, right? So I found that this tank was really fun to play. I made it a while back, but I kind of just over time, I kind of just changed up the sets and everything, and I thought this was like the best setup for it in order to make it really fun. So yeah, in the background here you got Lair of Maarselok, one of the bosses, and yeah, I still managed to clear a lot of hard bosses with this build, so mahalo, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, so for your class, obviously the Warden, right? And now in terms of your racial, or your race, you want to go either Nord or Dark Elf. If you want a much tankier gameplay, I would go with the Nord. If you want a more, damaging DPS gameplay with a little better magic and stamina sustain, I'd probably go with the Dark Elf. No wrong answer here at the end of the day. Either one will work well. Now, if you check out the stats, you want to put most of it into health, but if you want to put some into magic and stamina, it's fine too. I've done that before, and I found that it didn't break the build. However, I did like keeping the health above 40k just so it wasn't so squishy, and the healer could react better. Now, Bewitched Sugar Skulls should be your main food, right, for the health recovery and the tri-stat boost. That's the one I usually use. Now, in terms of your Mundus Stone, I think there's 4 viable options. You got the Atronach, the Lady, the Lord, and the Steed. You can read the effects on the right there to see what you like. There's no wrong answer. Now, I'm going to buff up real quick right here, right, to get my major resolve. Now, if you check it out now, my resistances are near capped, close to 33k. And you want to have that buff up, every 20-something seconds. And it also buffs your team, so that's a nice plus as well. Now, in terms of the gear sets, you want 5-piece Ice Furnace and 5-piece Storm Knight. Now, the thing with Ice Furnace is because you're always using frost damaging abilities, this thing will proc basically 100% of the time. There's no downtime for this skill. Anybody around your gripping shards or whatever else you use is always going to be damaged, and it damages people around that enemy as well. Now, Storm Knight is really nice. It gives you nice armor and health, but also when you take non-physical damage, you're basically dealing shock damage every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. And it says right there that the effect can occur every 6 seconds. So basically this thing is always going to be up as well. So you got 2 sets that basically put an aura of fire, lightning, and ice on you that constantly damage enemies around an area. And if at any point you need to see like the traits or enchantments, feel free to pause it so you can see this little pictorial or pictogram here. Mostly glyphs of health and armor for sturdy, right, so you can block better. Now for your monster sets, you got valkyn, skoria, and grothdarr. Now, either one works. I've used both. I personally prefer valkyn skoria just because it does a little more damage, but I know the City of Ash 2 Veteran Dungeon is actually a little harder than the grothdarr one, which is Waltz of Madness, so whatever you're able to get is fine, but they both work very well. And here I'm just quickly showing you what I have on my body real quick in case, it's confusing on the pictures that I just showed previously. So yeah, I got Storm Knight on my rings, amulet, and my weapon and shield. And for my body, I have the Ice Furnace set. So that's your chest, legs, belt, boots, and gloves. And then for my monster helm, and shoulders, I have my valkyn skoria. And, yeah, that's basically what I have on my character. Alright, so for your front bar skills, you want to have your gripping shards, which is your main DPS move that you're always going to be using right when you're running into mobs of enemies. Right? You have your Arctic Blast, which is a really quick burst heal, but it also helps you immobilize enemies, in tough situations when you might need that effect. You have, Ice Fortress, which is your group buff where everybody's resistances gets buffed. You got your blue Betty, right, which is restoring your magicka and removing negative effects on you. Pierce Armor, which is your main taunt skill and also reduces your enemy resistance, right? And you have your Northern Storm, which is your main ultimate, which increases your max mag, increase good AoE damage, team damage mitigation. It's really nice. Now for your back bar, these are the two skills you absolutely have to have. The others aren't as important, but Elemental Drain, right? So you can reduce the resistances of bosses, right? And minor Magicka Steal, but it's really to inflict that major breach, right? And then your other compulsory one is Crushing Shock, which is just mainly for interruption, not for its damage. Everything else, all the other skills that you see here are not mandatory, okay? As for your passives, you want to have the things that I have here. These are absolutely mandatory. I have 2 out of 2 in Nature's Gift because I am a support healer. I choose to be a support healer on this character, but that's not necessary. But you want to have the first one, which is Accelerated Growth, and the last one, which is Maturation, because of your own burst heal that you have. And for your other passives that you have to have on your one-handed shield, heavy armor, and undaunted, and your racial, that's pretty self-explanatory. So before heading into combat, you want to summon your Blue Betty and cast your Ice Fortress for your removing negative effects, sustain, and increase of resistances for you and your team. Now, as soon as you do that, you run up to enemies and cast your Gripping Shards. This will immobilize them, as well as proc your Ice Furnace and valkyn skoria's set effect. And you want to use your Pierce Armor if you need to aggro strong enemies, right? And if you're fighting a boss, you want to cast Elemental Drain on them. And if you need a quick burst heal, cast your Arctic Blast. Right? It's very expensive, but it's really good, and it's also great for immobilizing enemies if you need it. And as you are getting damaged, your Storm Knight set effect will proc like crazy, so that's why you have so many dots on this character. And once you have enough ultimate, cast your Northern Storm for extra damage and team damage mitigation, and you're basically just rinsing and repeating if you can. Your resources stay up pretty well, because these things, especially your Gripping Shards, it lasts 12 seconds, right? So you don't have to cast it You don't have to cast it that consistently. You just have to make sure every 12 seconds you're casting it and everyone gets hit. And that's basically it, man. So here I got some veteran Lair of Maarselok gameplay. Just kind of showing you, although this doesn't seem like a very meta build for a tank, it can still do really well on hard veteran content, right? So I really just want to showcase mostly the dots and the proc dots and all that stuff. And as you can see here, it's there's always constant damage, which is very helpful. And on top of that, you're immobilizing enemies to make it easier for the DPS to attack them without them always being attacked, because it kind of gets annoying to have to taunt every single enemy. And to my knowledge, I don't think there's a taunt in this game that can target everything, right? So here is I think the second last boss in the Lair of Maarselok, where it's just a bunch of ads that you have to kill, and then Maarselok drops, and then you can damage him that way. And yeah, we managed to kill him here. This is also a Lair. This is the final boss, which is Maarselok, right? The titular veteran dungeon name of the dragon. So here, kill him. It's pretty nice. Not too many enemies around, so you really can't showcase the constant proc AoE damage here. But you see, we managed to do this, which is pretty good, And I'm not normally this tank for me. It's just fun, right? I prefer using my DK tank when I'm doing some serious tanking, but tanking can get so boring. So why not make tanking fun again, right? So here you have the new dungeon on veteran, and it's called the Cauldron. Now this one was really fucking hard. From the first boss to the last boss, this is really freaking annoying. So here, as you can see, just casting my Gripping Shards and trying to get dots on everyone and trying to immobilize them, which is the main goal of this tank. And you see it managed to do pretty well here. Killed them all here. This is the second boss in the Cauldron as well, veteran. And we managed to kill this guy. This is actually a pretty good dungeon in terms of one of the sets I really like. It's called Dagon, and it's like an AoE effect type of stamina set. So if you're looking for that, be sure to check it out. It's Dagon, Dagon, Delta, Alpha, Golf, Omega November, right? Okay, so, and this is one of the, I think this is the second last boss, no, third last boss in the Cauldron Veteran as well. And this one got pretty annoying, right? So we had to take it slow. It took us like 7 minutes just to do it because the ads started piling up. Yeah. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Thank you for almost helping me reach 500 subs. If you found this video helpful at all, just, leave a like or leave a comment, or if you don't like it, just tell me why in the comments. No problem, right? Thank you very much, guys. Mahalo.